Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Pinkfresh Studio. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing a Betterpress Faux Letterpress technique card featuring the Good Times product suite. This product suite includes a stamp set as well as a press plate set. Today I'm going to be using that press plate for the Betterpress system or with the Betterpress system to create a faux letterpress effect. There's also a stencil set and coordinating die set. And for the background, I'm going to show you how to use the diagonal plaid press plate. Now keep in mind, press plates can be used for foil techniques as well, but today I am using them with the Betterpress system. So I'm starting out with my diagonal plaid background here. This is a large press plate and I'm going to basically center it up on my platform. Once I get it into perfect position, it will be held in place by the magnetic mat that is there, a part of the platform, or it's also called the chase. This clear part is called the platen, and that is what you're going to attach your cardstock to. For today's card project, I am using the porcelain Betterpress cotton cardstock, and I'm securing this 5.5 by 5.5 inch square piece of Betterpress cardstock to the platen with some low tack craft tape. Now I'm inking up my press plate with some olive ink, and you can see I'm kind of doing a swirl and then a tap, a little twist here and there to make sure that I get the entire portion covered with this olive ink. Then I'll place the platen on the magnetic feet of the chase and run that through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cut machine. And that impresses one portion of this diagonal plaid pattern. Now you can use it just like this, or if you want to create the plaid, you're just going to take your cardstock and rotate it 90 degrees in either direction and re-secure the cardstock to the platen. Then I'm going to ink up the press plate one more time with some olive ink. Again, I'm kind of swirling and twisting as I ink up the press plate. There's a lot of solid areas on this, so I'm just taking my time to make sure that I get ink over the entire area of the press plate. And once I have that inked up, again, I will pick up the platen, place it on the magnetic feet of the chase, and then send it through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. Now the paper doesn't actually make contact with the press plate until you put it through the die cut machine. And that causes those little springy magnetic feet to kind of press down and press the cardstock onto the press plate. This is wonderful because it leaves you with that bold, solid color, but it also makes an impression in this cardstock. Now I'm cleaning this with a baby wipe and then lifting it off with a strong magnet because there is quite a bit of metal sticking to the magnetic shim of the chase there. And so using a strong magnet helps me to remove that large solid press plate. And now I'm going to position the Good Times images in the center of that A2 area of the chase. I'm going to ink the images up with Rocky Slope, and then I'm going to use an ink cube in the color olive to ink up my sentiments. I have already secured another piece of the porcelain Betterpress cardstock to the platen there with some repositionable craft tape. I just like to put it in the corners to keep it out of the way of any of my images. And once everything's inked up, I'm going to place the platen onto the chase and then run that through my die cutting machine. And you can see I have beautiful, crisp results with the impression that's made by the press plate. Now, before I do my stenciling, I'm going to go ahead and die cut the sentiments, and that's so I make sure that I don't get any ink on them. I have been known to be a messy inker in the past, so I just want to make sure that those are out of the way before I do my inking. I'm using the impressed lines of that press plate image to help me line up my stencils. For stencil number 1, I just did a light shadow of some Misty Coast ink around the faces of the clocks. And for stencil number 2, I'm using Coral Reef ink on the large clock there on the right and also on the square clock in the lower left-hand corner. For this upper clock, I am using Rocky Slope to color in the bells and the feet and the hands. For stencil number 3, I'm switching to passion fruit ink and I'm inking up all the little berries surrounding the area of this larger kind of grandfather style clock. And I'm also inking up in a lighter shade of that passion fruit along the sides of the clock. I'm inking the florals in the center of that alarm clock at the top and then inking the outer portion with some Coral Reef ink. I'll finish up with stencil number 4, and for this I am using olive for all of the leafy areas, and I use some rocky slope on the kind of pendulum of that grandfather clock. So now I have all of my images stenciled. I'm going to take the one-piece coordinating die, line that up with the images, and I'll hold it in place using that same repositionable craft tape that I've been using throughout and run that through my die cut machine. I do want you to take note that I'm making sure that the craft tape does not overlap the images I want to use. And that's because this Betterpress cardstock is a very cottony cardstock, and that craft tape can definitely lift the fibers of the cardstock. So you want to be kind of careful with it. Now I wanted to do one more impression with a press plate. I'm using the Joyful Day press plate set and some Misty Coast ink, and I'm going to press this onto more of that porcelain Betterpress cardstock. So I'm inking that up and then running that through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. That's going to impress this beautiful leaf pattern. And when I'm using a couple of patterns together, I really love like a floral or a botanical open and loose print like this Joyful Day with that very geometric pattern of the plaid. I die cut my Joyful Day pattern using the notched rectangle dies, and I die cut the larger notched rectangle from some vellum, and I added those to each other using some foam adhesive, and now I'm placing this onto the card front using more foam adhesive. Now this is exactly 5.5 by 4.25, so I'm just attaching it to a white card base since it is a single panel of cardstock. And you can see I have my sentiment added there with a little green shadow layer kind of offset there. I'll finish off my card project using some of the matte silver metallic pearls. I'm putting a larger one over the pendulum here. I'm putting a small one in the center of the clock, and I scattered a few around the greeting as well as a few on the 12, 3, 6, and 9 numbers on the clock. I'm using my dual-tipped embellishment tool to place those onto my card front, and that finishes off my card for today. A fun card featuring lots of mixed patterns and, of course, that adorable Good Times product suite. I absolutely love the crisp lines and that faux letterpress look of the Betterpress with the press plates, but keep in mind, as I mentioned before, you could create this with hot foil and these same press plates as well. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Let me know in the comments below which of these press plates is your favorite. I can't wait to hear. And wouldn't that green plaid just be fabulous for Christmas time? I think it's definitely on my list. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this project and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making video tutorials shared. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.